Xiaomi 12 Pro or the Realme GT Pro? Which one of these flagships here should you get if you're thinking about both of these? I know a lot of people have asked me to compare them, and I can finally do this video here. So they are super similar. Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 in both of these. They both have AMOLED 120Hz screens, 6.7 inches versus 6.73, so there's really nothing there in the size. And they've both got fast charging, 65 watts versus 120 watts, a 5,000 milliamp hour battery versus 4,600. And then the cameras, they're similar too. So two main cameras, both being 50 megapixels, both of the ultra wides are also 50 megapixels. And then the selfie cameras, 32 megapixels, yet again the same exact spec. So there will be a camera comparison as well as an in-depth look on the build quality, benchmarks, battery life, general performance, and which one I think, based on all that info, should you get out of these two. Then with both of these phones, we have TPU cases. It's a thicker case you get with the Xiaomi, offers more protection, versus you could say maybe a better looking but thinner case with the Realme. So the GT2 Pro has 65 watt charging, and it does take 29 minutes in my tests. And then the Xiaomi, that one is 120 watts, which takes 26 minutes. However, it's a smaller battery, 4,600 versus 5,000. So there's a big difference there in the milliamp hours with the battery, 400 more with the GT2 Pro. Finish and build quality. Now, this is going to be personal preference. I like both of them. I think they are both excellent. The Xiaomi in hand feels just a little more premium because of the materials used, the frame around the outside, but that doesn't mean that the Realme GT2 Pro is bad either. I really like the matte finish of this one with that olive green color. That's the paper style finish to it. It does, however, for some people probably make it seem a little less premium because of that matte finish, but no fingerprints or smudges show up on it, okay? Nothing. But that's also the same for the Xiaomi 12 Pro. So they've both done an excellent job there with the finish. Now, weight-wise, you're looking at 205 grams versus about 200 grams. They are really similar. Nothing really in it. On the side here, you can see we've got power button just with the Realme and power volume on the Xiaomi 12 Pro. And then when you flip it over and have a look at the other side, there's nothing with the Xiaomi, then the volume up and down there with the Realme. Now, cameras, here is where we are very similar, and I will have a comparison coming up soon of this. So we've got 50 megapixel on the Xiaomi, and then another 50 2x optical, 50 ultra wide, whereas we have 50 main, 50 ultra wide, and then a 3 megapixel microscopic camera with the Realme, which is a bit different there. Along the bottom of these two, we have a dual SIM trays, and both of them only take 2 nano SIMs, so no micro SD card support. Downward firing speaker, another one here. The antenna lines you can see on both of them, microphones, and then our Type-C ports. If I flip them up here, you'll see at the top, we've got a secondary mic on both, the loudspeaker port there, whereas on the Realme GT2 Pro, it comes out the earpiece, and this is Harman Kardon tuned for the loudspeakers. You do get an IR transmitter, so infrared there, which the Realme is lacking. So I want to test out these speakers now, and we'll find out which one sounds the best. Firstly, the GT2 Pro, then the Xiaomi 12 Pro. So what do you think from that sample? From where I'm sitting, it was the GT2 Pro that came out on top there. With the volume, it's a little louder. And the Xiaomi, you could say, perhaps sounds a little bit richer, maybe a little bit more bass. But I do give the win to the GT2 Pro, which is a bit of a surprise for me because this one has the Harman Kardon naming behind it. Well, they've tuned these speakers, but still this one is better. And our screens here, so both of them 120 Hz, both are LTPO AMOLEDs, but it's LTPO 2 with the Realme GT2 Pro. It's a flat screen, has slimmer bezels as you can see, and this Xiaomi has the curvature to it. So you get a slight color shift that you do notice on the very edge there. It's not that obvious, but it's there. Now, some will say that in hand and when you swipe for the gestures, the curved screen is better, but I'm someone that prefers actually flat, and I like the look of these slimmer bezels we get with the GT2 Pro. So both panels are QHD plus resolution. Both of them you can change that if you want to. You can set it onto Full HD plus, but for my review, my testing, I've kept it on QHD plus. Now you can adjust the colors of them. So brightness, right now I've got them both calibrated to 200 nits with my meter, so they should look the same. Any changes we're seeing in the white balance is just down to software in the screen tick there. So the cutouts, we've got 32 megapixels in both. Which do you prefer? Hole punch in the middle or to the left? Let me know in the comments. I actually prefer it here in the middle, and I wish that Realme had done that, but still I have to give the win for the screen to this Realme. Why? Because it's flat, and the second one, most importantly, even though it doesn't state anywhere that it has DC dimming, I don't see any flicker or banding. I see some banding and sometimes a very small amount of flicker coming through on the 12 Pro screen. The GT2 Pro, no banding, no flicker there whatsoever. Gestures on both are fine, and you can see the UI. That was a perfect example of what I'm seeing with MIUI 13. The animations can sometimes be slow, and you get that horrible little loading thing come up. Never happens with the GT2 Pro. Its UI gets the win for me. 120 Hz, 120 frames per second, super fast animations. It's more stable. I'm having random reboots with the Xiaomi 12 Pro at the moment, although they claim a firmware is going to fix that. Just have to wait and see, but it's just those UI animations and just way fast. Everything feels a lot faster when you use the UI with the GT2 Pro. So Realme UI 3.0 based on Android 12. This is also Android 12. Less bugs, faster. Yes, UI, definitely Realme UI is the best here. Both of these models, when you first turn them on, do come with a little bit of bloatware, but not that much really. We've got about 5 or 6 apps versus 5 or 6 apps. No advertising on either of them that I'm seeing, which is good. That's what we want. We don't want advertising, especially on flagship phones, let alone affordable or mid-ranges shouldn't have it either. So this is really weird here because the Xiaomi's got 120 watt charging and it's got a smaller battery. And then the Realme has a 5,000 milliamp hour. So it's 400 milliamp hours more and still charges in 29 minutes at 65 watts. And that's not really much of a difference at all, considering we've got almost double the wattage on the Xiaomi, but both of them are very fast here, really good. And even though I did start to charge the Realme at 6% battery, it would still be around 29 minutes. Sometimes it's 30 minutes, sometimes the Xiaomi's 27, sometimes it's 25 minutes. They are very close, and I would not base my decision on that. No, definitely not. Internal storage. Very quick on both, but the Xiaomi did take the lead here with fast sequentials, fast and random writes there. As you can see, not that much of a difference, and I would not really concern myself with that, but it's just nice to know that they're both very quick. Now, I wanted to point out both my models here, they have 12 gigabytes of RAM each. They both run Android 12. They both have the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, and it's 256 gigabytes of storage on both. And very similar scores here, but the Xiaomi pulled ahead. Now, what is interesting to note, throttling performance with Wildlife Extreme. This is a very demanding test. It runs for 20 minutes. It showed that the Xiaomi basically did not throttle. It throttled 0.4%. That's it. That is absolutely nothing. Now, the Chinese model of the Xiaomi 12 Pro, which I originally reviewed, wouldn't complete the test, all right? It just does not complete it. It always crashes, overheats. That's what happened to me, okay? That was back in January, and it still does it now. It can't really game for more than 30 minutes without overheating. But the global version, it's fine, okay? It gets warm and really not an issue. But the performance you can see was quite a bit higher on the best loop versus the Xiaomi. So really depends on what you want. They are hot chips and they do throttle, but the Xiaomi, well, it doesn't seem to, as you can see here. Very, very steady, that frame rate. Now, the temperature difference, 44 degrees versus 42. And the frame rates there, not really that much in it. And they both pass the Safetynet check here. So that means you can use banking apps, NFC on both too, which is going to work. Widevine level 1 cert on both, so you do get Netflix in full HD. That's good. Camera 2 API support, both level 3. That's the maximum level of support. So look out for your Gcams and open camera. If you want to run that, you can run it. GPS on both Similar, but I did notice that the Xiaomi seemed to be a little bit better with the average signal strength here. You can see that's the important one to look at. And they both get the lock in about the same time there. So just slightly better on the Xiaomi. Battery life, big difference here. Now, I both ran them with Quad HD resolution and both at 120 Hertz. And yeah, I don't know what happened to the Xiaomi here. So that's a fixed test at 200 nits of brightness, and it runs until both of them get to 20% battery and gives us the result. So it went a lot longer, the GT2 Pro, and I'm seeing this in real world use as well. So this one's going to be around 6.5, 7 hours of on-screen time. Best case scenario, just social media, very light stuff, not gaming. And this one here will go for around 9 hours. So it's quite a bit better, 8.5, 9. So battery life definitely gets the win there, the GT2 Pro. Over to gaming performance now. So they both got the same chipset, same RAM, and to me, performance is very, very similar. In PUBG, you can run the maximum frame rate is the extreme option on both, and the performance is the same. So I wanted to focus more on this title, which is Genshin Impact. I'm going to run it on both of them and play now for 1 hour and see which one is going to get the hottest. Will they thermal throttle? All right, so it has been about 34 minutes and they don't seem to be getting any hotter. They're both warm to the touch, well, hot to the touch. And you can see we're getting about 40 degrees on the Realme, which is on the right of the screen on the back here. And a similar kind of temperature there on the Xiaomi, but not quite as hot. Now the front of them, all right, a little different here. You can see about 42 degrees is the hottest temperature on the Realme and about 42 also on the Xiaomi 12 Pro. So they both get hot to the touch, but not too bad considering that was approximately 34 minutes of a super demanding game. And moving over to our cameras now, which should be really interesting considering they are so similar. So front-facing cameras, 32 megapixels on both of them. And we only get 1080p video here, so even though they're flagships, unfortunately no 4K 30 even. We've just got the 1080p. 30 or 60 frames per second. Now both of them do have electronic image stabilization and both of them have disappointing audio quality, I think, with the bit rate there, that it's a little bit too low on both of them. So we've got 128 kilobits per second or 96 kilobits per second. It really should be about 320 or at least 190. So I'm going to do a short little jog here just to test out that electronic image stabilization. Which one do you think works the best? And I'll swap over to the rear cameras now. This is 4K 30 frames per second now to match my review here, well, my comparison of both of these. So you can also shoot in 4K 60. Images look good on both, but let me know which one do you think looks the best? The color science, the sharpness, the detail captured, and the stabilization. So a light jog now. Hard for me to see at the moment in recording this which one looks the steadiest, but I think it could be the Xiaomi. Now I've noticed the focus on both of these 50 megapixel sensors is good. No problems in that area, and as I pan around there is sometimes a little bit of judder showing. Now you can on the fly then go over to the ultra wide on both of these. So that's the ultra wide, 50 megapixels on both, and you can see the ultra wide now on the GT2 Pro. So it does get a lot more in the shot. But which one looks the best as I pan around? Hopefully no terrible judder coming through. I have noticed a bit on the Xiaomi and sometimes with the Realme too. Okay, so what would be my pick then? Which is the winner? And you probably guessed it. It is, yes, the Realme GT2 Pro. It has the better battery life, better standby time too, battery drain that is, better UI. Realme UI 3.1 is so much better to use. It's more enjoyable than buggy MIUI 13 with poor animations, some slow, sluggy animations at times, reboots on me just randomly, and also bad standby drain. It's losing a lot of battery overnight if you just leave it doing nothing. It's losing about 25% or even more, which is completely unacceptable. They've really got a lot of work to do. Now, both of them with the cameras, trading blows there, both have at times poor video performance, especially the audio. I really do need to increase the bit rates on both of them. But the Realme, the list just goes on with things that I like about it. Big shock to see and hear that the Harman Kardon speakers lost to the GT2 Pro. I did not expect that. I just assumed that Harman Kardon tuned these. I thought they would sound better, but they kind of don't actually, and they're louder in this model here. So there's lots of things to like about it. And the charge speed, sure, the Xiaomi wins on the charge speed. It's about 3, 4, 5 minutes faster at times. And it does have a slightly better feel to it in build quality. But really, that's about it. So don't waste your money. Get yourself the phone that is cheaper and overall better. Thanks a lot for watching this comparison of the Realme GT2 Pro versus the Xiaomi 12 Pro.